So you want to play Carrot in OP10 and EB02. Lucky for you, there was a slight buff that makes it more consistent. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Mobby here, and today I'm going to be giving you my personal deck profile for this Green Carrot that came out in OP08 for OP10 and EB02 and below. Make sure to like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel. I upload daily duels and deck profiles for different anime TCGs. Alright guys, so here we go. There is one new card from EB02 that's actually pretty decent in this deck. If you guys just want the deck profile, you can head on over to my website, TCG.com. That's where I post all of the images for deck profiles for everything that we cover on the channel. All right, go. So go. All right, so let's talk about every single card, and just letting you guys know, this deck is focused on early to mid game, a really high aggression and rushing. There is some late game, but not as much as you would think, and towards the end of the video, I'll explain why some cards aren't even in here. So here we go, Carrot from OP08. This is the EB02 version with the, the non-white backing part. Once again, if you guys want to download your own proxies, I photoshopped these myself, before they're out in English, in case you're watching this in the future, also on my website. So 5,000 power, green leader, Carrot Minks, 5 life. Once per turn during your main phase, if you have a Minks type character, meaning it doesn't matter if it's an active, if it's rested, if it's a 1 cost, if it's a 5 cost, you can use this. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So this is really good for closing out games. Usually they have like a 5 blocker or a 2 blocker, or even very early, especially if they have characters that they want to activate, but they had to, they have to summon them active so you can rest them and hopefully do some damage into them. So there you go. Okay, so we're gonna start from 0 cost all the way up. So this is because the side of justice, which will be whichever side wins. This is for OP05 0 cost. So activate this, trash 1 card up to one of your leaders or characters, gains 3,000 power. This is a really good card for the deck. You have some dead cards in the form of extra stages. If obviously you don't want to use the 1 stage. If you get your other 2 extras, you're going to want to trash them. And there is some late game bricks, so this will help with that as well. We're running 3 of these. Now for searching, this is Wanda from OP08 121. On play, look at the top 5, reveal 1 Minks other than Wanda and add it to your hand. The best Minks that you're going to want to grab is your 5 cost Carrots. Otherwise, I suggest getting some 2Ks with this if you can. It was really a really good card because, once again, as long as you have any Minks on the field, you can use this leader's ability. So Wanda is one of the best cards to use. You can throw it out on turn 1. Your opponent might not want to use any resources to get rid of it, unless it's a free one, like for example the 3 cost Black Brook or something. But otherwise, yeah, this is a really good card to put on the field, and every once in a while you might be able to attack into a rested like 2 cost or 2,000 power or lower. Okay, so time for one of the new cards in EB02. Check this one out. This is Carrot from EB02. So it has 1 cost, 0 damage, which it's kind of iffy, but 2k counter. So it's a new 2k for the deck, but the ability is really awesome. If you have 3 or more Dawn cards on your field, look at the top 7, reveal 1 Zoe, which is the stage, add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, then play a Zoe from your hand. So with this card, not only does it have another 2k counter that's able to be searched, but is another really low cost Minks that you can put on the field just in case you need to, once again, close out games for a 1 cost here. Being able to use your leader's ability, assuming you didn't have a Mink on before, it's really good. Also, the fact that this makes it way more consistent to be able to use your Zoe stage, because the Zoe stage is an animal type, making it so it's not searchable by any card in the game other than this now. If you do decide to play this, remember it has to be on turn 2 and onwards. Turn 1 is 1 Dawn, if you're going second it's 2 Dawn. However, you can only play Zoe on your second turn anyway with 3 or 4 Dawn. So if you somehow didn't get Zoe and you're running like 3 or 4, putting this on the field on the second turn, you're most likely going to grab it searching for 7. So this makes it so you can be super consistent. It's a nice card. It's just solid. Like, it fills up a lot of roles. The only bad thing is it's weak, but you know, you're not trying to keep it on the field. It's here just in case you need to search and for maybe activating the Minks ability in order to rest something. So this is a super solid card. Even though it's a common, it's still very useful in this deck. So it's a big upgrade for the reliability of the Minks deck. Now, let's move on to our 2 costs here. Don Quixote Rocinante OP05 is a 2/1/1, has innate blocker. On your opponent's turn, if a rested character would be KO'd, meaning from attack or from an effect, you can trash this character instead. This is a very strong card. We're running 2 of these, and the reason why, it's because we have some other new blockers. Check this out. Also, the low-cost cards we have here, they're in here because you can cheat them out later. Now we have Carrot. This is a promo card. This is from this is promo 070 2/2/1. So this one was not in my previous Carrot deck. It's now in here, making it much more very early game consistent. A lot of decks these days like to run very chump blockers, and this is a very good one because it is a Minx, which makes it so it's searchable and usable with your leader's ability. So it's nothing special, just 2/2/1 and innate blocker. It can be cheated out by Eustace Kid later, and once again, it's super cheap to get out. So running 4 of these. So 4 of these and 2 of these. These are for the Minx, these are for the general protection, and both of these can be cheated out later. Now we have some EZOs. Now we are running 11 2K counters in this deck if you guys are interested. This is much more defensive heavy than the last Carrot I put out. And this is from OP01 332. On play, rest a 4 or less. So closing out games, once again, you can, if your opponent somehow has 2 blockers on the field and you have a small Minx, you can go ahead and rest 1 and then rest 1 with this, making it so you can get past them easy. So EZO is in here for a 2K. It's not searchable. However, it allows you to rest cards if you need to. There you go. We're running 3 of these, and we're running 4 of these. We're running 4 2Ks here and 4 2Ks later on. Okay. Now for the stages, this is Zoe from OP08, 3 cost. So activate main, you can rest the stage if your leader is Minx, and at the time of this recording, this is the only leader that can be used with. Set up to one of your Dawn is active. You can use that Dawn to attach more and attack. You can use it to, honestly, if you want to, I'm not running any in this deck, but you can have 1 cost counter events, and then you could use that with. At the end of your turn, set up one of your Minx is active. That's not terrible at all. Unfortunately, there isn't any crazy good early game Minx to attack with. So yeah, it's good for the active Dawn, but pretty much you're gonna want to just try to save up your 5 cost Minx after you're kind of able to attack with them. You do have a rush Mink, but it most likely won't happen on the following turn that you play this out. But it's a very good stage, and once again, it's now searchable with the new EB02 Carrot. And if you have extras, don't worry, you can trash them, no problem. Okay, now we have these Electrical Lunas from OP08. Very, very strong card. You can see a lot of these used in just a bunch of green decks in general. 3 cost, activate main. All of your opponent's rested characters, 7 or less, is stunned until their next refresh phase. Well, will not become active in their next refresh phase. The trigger here is rest one of your opponent's characters. An extremely strong trigger. Not as good as, let's say, Beige, but once again, it's a Minx card. It can be searched, and it's good, especially if you're going against a bunch of rush decks. Maybe you want to play this and then set up some Dawn as active, and essentially this only costs 2 thanks to the Zoe, so it's really good. Running 2 in here. Now moving on to our Pedro. This is from OP08. 4/5/1, has an innate blocker. When this is KO'd, you get to choose one of these effects. You can rest up to one of your opponent's Dawns, which if your opponent knows the card and they read it, they could just play around it and play stuff beforehand. However, the second one's actually pretty cool too. You can KO up to one of your opponents rested with a cost of 6 or less. So if your opponent attacks with a 6-drop, let's say for example, it becomes rested during the attack. So this will be able to kind of blow up in their face. So it's very versatile, and your opponent has to play around it. It's not the greatest card to start playing late game. However, it's good for if you're going seconds, you don't really have a turn 2, you know, you didn't get your Zoe for some reason, you can throw this out. It's a decent card, but it's you won't play it too often because you primarily want to play your 5-drops or your 3 Zoes or your cheap blockers. But this is a good blocker regardless. Okay, time for our 5-drops. This is Inuyasha from OP08 5/6/1. On play, if your leader is Minx, Up to 2 of your opponent's rested 5 or less cannot become active. It's pretty much a much more weaker version of Electrical Luna. However, it allows you to have a Minks on the field for your ability. It's an attacker later, and it's just decent. It's a 5-drop also, so it can be cheated out with the later Rosinante. So we're running 3 of these. Now we're running 3 of these Nekomushis, also from OP08 561. On play, if your opponent has 7 or more rested characters, this character gains Rush. There's 2 Rush cards in this deck, this being one of them. It's a Minks and Akazaya 9, so it's searchable. So basically, 7 or more rested is anything on your opponent's field, whether it's characters, their leaders, or their Dawn. If it's 7, you get to Rush. This could be a very surprise endgame, especially if you don't grab your late game Hody Joneses. All right, time for the last 2K of the deck. So I was thinking of running the 2K Milkies, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna run these ones instead because there's actually a use for them. So this is from OP02 Minks, so searchable 2K. 5/5. At the end of your turn, set one of your Dawn as active. Useless ability in this deck. However, it is a 5-drop, meaning it can technically be summoned by the Rosinante, the late game in this deck. So it can be a surprise attacker or something on your opponent's on your next turn after you summon this. If you put the Milky in, it's whatever. It's a really small card. You definitely want the Milky in like decks. But because we have so much like really cheap Minks now with these new 1 costs and I'm running these 2 costs, you don't really need the Milky. I'd rather have the option of potentially a random weak attacker, you know, after it's cheated out. But probably the key card of your deck is going to be Carrot. Once again, this is a low control deck. This Carrot helps with that immensely. So this is from OP08 561. On play and then when attacking the following turn, it can activate multiple times. Up to 1 of your opponent's rested 7 costs will not become active. Basically, if they don't get rid of this Carrot, you're going to stun something for the whole game, maybe even more. Obviously, it doesn't work for later, for 8+, like Gecko Moris and things. But because you have 5 life, you want to just keep restanding, you know, with your Zoe, attacking, going crazy. With your Zoe as well, you can also get the Dawn back as active, so you're even more aggressive. And that's the game plan of this deck. Really good, great card, probably one of the best ones to cheat out with the Rosinante upcoming. Now, because this is a rush, aggressive, I won't say rush, a really aggressive green deck. We have Hody Joneses, non-searchable, but OP06 780. This has innate rush, 8,000. That's not bad. On play, rest up to 2 of your opponent's Dons or characters. So if you know they're gonna play like Gum Giant, if they're a purple deck or something, you can go ahead and rest those Dons. Rest up a couple of blockers. Then add up to 1 card from the top of your life to your hand. You usually use this towards when you're just going to end the game. So you really don't care if you have to add 1 to your hand at that time. We're running 2 of these. Honestly, depending on your preference, you might want to run more. I just don't want too many bricks, so that's just my preference. Now we have some Rosinantes. This is from OP04 880. On opponent's turn, if this character is rested, your active characters with a cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effects. So there you go. Once again, Carrot's your best one. On play, you can rest this character. Play up to 1 green character with a cost of 5 from your hand. So really good. When you have 8 on, you use this, you play this. And if your opponent doesn't have anything to rest with your Carrot, you might want to throw it out anyway because it has a 1 attacking. But you probably another good one is going to be the Nekomushi, so you can rush because most likely your opponent will have 7 or more rested cards you can attack with. So there you go. Now we have the last card of the deck is our useless Captain Kids from OP01 880. With 1 Dawn attached on your opponent's turn, if this character is rested, they must attack through him before anything else. Then activate Maid once per turn. You can rest this character. Play up to 1 card with the cost of 3 or less from your hand. So this card is extremely powerful for the deck. Usually when you have 8 Dawn, a lot of leaders can't use the ability with the extra 1 Dawn. However, usually in this deck, you might have a Mink on the field, but if you don't, you'll definitely have one with this. A lot of cards that you can use with your 8 and throw it out. For example, well, you can do easels if you want, but you have your Rosinantes, which will help protect him from random KOs, which is why they're in the deck. You have the Carrots here, which will act as a Mink if you need it, plus a blocker. And I guess you could technically put these ones out if you want, but mostly the best thing is going to be the Carrots and the Rosinantes, depending on what you need. If you need a Minx, throw out that 2-drop Carrot. If you need to protect him more, throw out the Rosinante. But remember, you have Zoe field hopefully you have Zoe by now, the field. So if you play with 8, then you can add the Minks, bring one of your Dons back up, put it on him, then he'll have the ability, which is really good. And we're only running 3, and that is the late game of the deck. Now, some decks might want to go even more late game, putting out some of the 9-drop Shanks, which is a film card, making it so you can KO any arrested character on play. A really powerful option. There is the 10-drop Don Quixote do Flamingos, which, you know, when this deck first came out, I ran a package where it was Minks plus Rosinantes, plus Don Quixote, and that was actually a pretty decent deck. But because we're going just straight more Minks with the, you know, the new EB02 card and stuff, we are kind of just going for the hopefully you can rest cards and attack into them, make the opponent waste cards if they're trying to protect stuff. You have a lot of 2Ks now in this deck. You can go ahead and rest 4Ks, you can rest 5Ks. You have your Hody Joneses to rest any characters at all. You are a rushing fiend, and you have a lot of blockers here just in case. So that's why we're not particularly running too much late game, but once again, it's a preference. It is up to you what you want to run, and this is just how I'm doing it here. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, if you guys want if you want to see the deck list, just images, and you want to download all the proxies that I Photoshop and upload on my website, head on over there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.